Alrighty, Lumberjacks, welcome back. Today we're going to be going over the 1.11 update. So this has been a really big update. It never intended to be a giant update, but here we are. So we have now reverted back. This is the biggest part of the update, is we've now reverted back to the standard in-game weights. So the trees have been reduced to match what the Giants maps were at. So the trees are back down to, I think it's 0.57 for density, instead of the really heavy ones that we had before. I did a total reconversion of all the machines. Honestly, I was kind of thinking it was going to be horrible, but it's worked out really well, and so far I haven't really had any big issues. I was able to kind of calibrate the machines to give you guys the same kind of feel that you had from the heavyweights. So I'm not sure, like, based on what I've learned, I'm not sure if it's just the weight of the game is really just relative. It doesn't matter. It matters how you calibrate your machines. Again, these machines are not exactly stock Giants weights. They are quite, I wouldn't say like crazy amount heavier, but a fair amount heavier than the in-game Giants. Like if you look at the Scorpion and the Cobra, I think their maximum weight is 20,000 for the whole machine. These guys are about 50,000 for the whole machine. But that's, honestly, that's the lowest possible weight that I can make these machines and still have them work, like interact with the logs realistically. And that's the best I can get. I imagine you could try to haul these with the in-game machines, but probably not, or in-game trucks and trailers. I still included the FDR version of the Pinnacle truck, that Mack truck, to haul all the stuff and haul the logs and the FDR trailers and stuff. But honestly, I think if there's other modders out there that have more beefed up equipment, you guys will find you'll be able to haul these machines and logs and all that fun stuff with other mods. But the biggest point being is the maps have now got the normal tree weights. So if you guys do have other mods, I do understand the people that emailed me and the people I talked to about the heavy weights not being able to use other people's mods. It wasn't a giant conspiracy theory to get people's mods out. I just was trying to go for a better feel. But honestly, coming back to this, reverse engineering it all, I think it worked out good. But anyway, we'll go on about that kind of stuff in a future episode. Today we are looking at the update. So yeah, the biggest one obviously is the weight changes to the maps, to the machines. One cool thing about the maps that I discovered, at least this will be on the FDR maps, I was able to change something I never knew existed, and that was the actual ground itself. You can actually edit the physics of the ground itself, and I did not know you could do that. So I learned that while I was messing around with weights. So I've now added a really sticky, staticky ground to this, so the friction's really high on the ground. So now when you drop logs on it, you'll find they don't slide around as much. You can actually drive over them and stuff. They stick to the ground kind of a little bit more realistically. You'll find with the skidders and all that kind of stuff, you can usually drive right over piles and tops and stuff. I mean, it's not going to be perfect, but you can actually roll over a pile and it won't completely disintegrate it. Same when you're bunching. You'll notice when you lay trees on hillsides, they don't slide down the hills anymore. They actually stick to the ground pretty good. And that's just a stickier ground type. So you guys will probably notice that while you're working with some of the machines. So let's go over some of the new stuff. So we do have a few new things. So first of all, we have the Timberpro forwarder, which is a big one. This is one a lot of people were waiting for. A lot of people wanted a forwarder. And honestly, it's probably one of the best forwarders I think I've ever made. It works really well. We'll demonstrate it here in a little bit. It's got a really fat bunk on the back, so you can put quite a pile of wood in there. I think almost a full logging truck bunk, if not a little bit more than that. The grapple's fairly large, but it's quite efficient for what we're doing. You can pick up the larger stuff from like lumber... Paradise, Loggers Paradise. Jeez, I remember the name of my own maps here. So you can pick up the bigger logs with those. You can get 2 or 3 in the grapple. Or on this map, you get those little tiny ones. You can pick up a crap ton of those and throw it in there as well. So we'll play with this guy in a little bit here, and I'll show you guys the different positions. So when you're in it, you obviously have your outside camera. Now there's the cockpit camera, which is kind of cramped. I'm not a huge fan of it. You can totally use this to load off the ground and into the back of the trailer and stuff. It's not like a terrible view, but it's not like my favorite view. So if you hit C, go to there's a secondary camera now that has kind of your boom camera. And this is honestly probably the chillest one to load from. That way you can kind of see your full load and stuff. But if you want to stick to being authentic, you can also go from the cab view. I just prefer having both. And I figured the option would be nice for you guys. So yeah, all the trucks, the trailers, and the skidders have new suspension systems, new engines. Well, everything's been redone basically for the weights of, you know, the lighter logs, the lighter everything. But in doing so, I found ways to make the suspensions quite a bit better. So you'll notice when you're hauling logs, when you're trekking around, the trucks are smoother. The skidders are like night and day difference. So I'm just going to run over to the skidder real quick, give you guys a demo. So you'll notice like the feel of the skidders are a lot different now. They're really gnarly. They got a lot of power, but they don't take off as bad. They do have like a really nice pickup. So when they're backing up, when they're going forward and backwards, you'll feel a really nice kind of pickup for it. Also, when you're trekking over terrain, for instance, if you hit stumps, you'll notice the tires have a little bit more suspension. You'll see them kind of float up a bit when they hit stumps, which is super nice. You'll just notice going over rough terrain and stuff in general, it's a very smooth experience when you're driving. Same when you're hitting all these stumps. Like I said, it just feels really good. In the cab, you barely even notice it. Also, when you're hauling logs and stuff, which we're going to do in a moment, you will see all that fun stuff as well. There's 2 more new mods, attachments that we're going to talk about here. Just in 1 second. Which I don't actually have them purchased, but I'm going to purchase them right now while we're here. So it's the button top grapple, which I know a lot of people wanted one of those, so we now have one of those. And we also have the roto rake with the thumb on it now, which is very similar to one I've used in real life, and I was really excited to get one. So we have that now. So we'll attach those once we get the logs down the hill here. So why don't we just do a quick skid here? Because I want some stuff for the processor for us to play with, and then we can play with the Timberpro. It's going to be a bit of a long video. So on the skidders, now the rotation on the grapple has a teeny bit of free float. So as you can see when I turn it, it's got a teeny bit of free float on it now. And why I did this is we had a few people that were saying they wanted a little bit of rotation when they were backing up with the skidder and stuff. And I don't have the ability to do free rotation, but I do have the ability to kind of put this a little bit of rotation. So the locking straps on these guys have been greatly improved. You can pretty much go anywhere. You get a little bit of jitter, but it's not as bad. Sometimes when you get a huge load, they'll pop through the bottom a little bit, but it's usually pretty darn good. The skidders in general and the locking straps on all the machines and stuff have been dynamically improved. I'm just going to throw these down like right here, because we're going to be processing some shorts here in a second. So I'm going to throw those down. Well, like I said, the overall experience on the skidder, you're going to notice, is a lot better. It's got way better friction scales. It, you know, hits the ground a lot nicer, stays on the ground a lot nicer. Your turning's a lot better. And like I said, just having that nice suspension of the tires is just really, really nice to keep the machine kind of balanced. So on the previous ones, you go over rough terrain, it would kind of like bounce, not even bounce, it would like hiccup the whole machine up and down, and it was just really, really brutal. So now, like I said, they drive really smoothly, even over some really rough terrain. So, you know, it's not, that being said, the lighter weights has not been a total terrible thing, because I've actually, of course, if I never would have done the heavyweights, I would have never learned half the stuff I learned now, but, these are pinned up against the tree here. We're just going to go with it. If I never would have done the heavyweights, I would never be able to reverse engineer these to the way that they are now. So let's just throw a couple of these down here. And then I'll go over the processors real quick. Make sure I'm not missing anything else. We'll start with that South Star, because the South Star is the one that has changed a little, but for the better. And we're just going to throw all this in a big pile here. Sure. And we'll just go park this over here somewhere. But as you can see, it's pretty smooth. It's pretty smooth trekking with the skidders now. No hiccups. Good suspensions, no hiccups. Okay, so the South Star processor head. So I've moved the knives up a little bit. They were a little bit lower before. Some people were mentioning that they stuck down too far when you were processing. So kind of made a little awkward while you were trying to cut some stuff. The other big change is the cut lengths. So the cut lengths now have a 0.5 interval. So before it used to be 100, 200, 300, 400. And now you have the 50s in between. So you can go 150, 250, 350, 450. As you can see, I have 1450 on there, down that screen on the bottom right. So we're gonna cut to 600. But now having that half interval, there's a few people that said that they like to cut in that half interval. Had a few people ask for quarters. I'm not gonna go quarter intervals. That's just getting ridiculous. But half intervals I can understand, because some of the trailers out there are built for those half intervals. So I get it. Okay, so I'm just gonna cut a bunch of shorts here because I want to demo the forwarder here in a second. And we don't have to do a whole bunk's worth, but grab a few here. So yeah, the processors, like I said, they still do have a pretty good feel, similar to the heavyweights. I've found anyway. It's not like crazy bad like I thought it was going to be. It's actually not too bad at all. The tree weights are pretty good. And again, this is stock weights from in-game, so you know, I was kind of concerned, to be honest, about how that was going to go. Jeez, I can't even grip this thing. Just got to get it right in there. There you go. Yeah, no, like I said, the whole process took a long time. There was a lot of... If you guys want, go on Twitch. You can watch my thousands of friggin' hours of playing with the different weights to try to find a good balance. But I'm pretty happy with what I got now, so I'm hoping it stays that way. Even the processors, like I said, they feel pretty good. They're definitely like a slightly lighter feeling than they used to be, but overall, like I said, they process really well still without any hardcore issues, so that's all I can really ask for. Let's just cut a couple more trees here. Let's grab some of the big ones out of the pile, because we can sit here on these little ones for 6 years and never get to where we want to be. Let's grab that one. But yeah, with the lighter weights, there was a lot of calibration with grapples. There was a lot of calibration with grip strength on the grapples. A lot of calibration on everything. But overall, I really do feel that it's a very, very similar feeling to what we had before. If not better, maybe. I have a few, like the Skidders. I love the Skidders now compared to what they were before. Absolutely night and day difference for sure. Let's just throw all this in here. Okay, that's good enough. Like I said, we don't need a full bunk, but I just wanted to kind of show off the forwarder a little bit. So yeah, processor heads are really good. They work really well. Very whippy, very, you know, good times all around. I'm just going to park this over here in case I'm in the way. The lowboy trailer has had some differences. The low bed trailer, sorry, has had some changes as well. All for the better. Haul's a lot better. The trucks themselves, well, we'll get to the trucks here. That'll be a whole other world. This thing does not have the world's sharpest turning radius. That's just due to the shape of the machine and the way she goes. And it's actually quite long, this thing, so I need a little bit of space to turn around. Max speed on this guy is 12 kilometers an hour. I know that doesn't seem like it's very fast, but once you get hauling wood and stuff, it actually is pretty darn quick. If you're going over really long distances, it's kind of slow, but for the most part, it feels really good. And honestly, once you start picking stuff up and you're doing hand bombing with the controls, you don't want more than 12. 12 is lots. Okay, so we're just going to kind of park next to this guy here. And like I said, the grapple on it's really large. Like it's got a pretty big opening on it, but it's really nice because you can get pretty nice grabs. And for the most part, they stay pretty darn good in the grapple too. Oops. Of course, if I don't pin it up against the wall, it helps. Know your distance. Stay within it. There you go. The other thing that's really cool you can do with this, guys, you can actually pencil with this. So, for instance, if you guys don't know what penciling is, some of you do not. If you have, let's take these three. So, for instance, if we had these 3 logs and maybe this one was a little out, and that's how the pile was, Well, trying to load those in the forwarder is kind of a nightmare. So what you can do is you can actually pencil with this guy. I'm not like super great at it. I'm kind of getting used to it, but you can like throw your head kind of like this and then pin it down. Open up your claw a little bit, and they, well, a little bit better than that. But you see how they're kind of evened out now? I mean, you can do it better than that. There's probably guys out there that can do it way better than me. And yeah, it just kind of brings them up so that they're level with each other. See, now they're not like a huge space between the ends. It's a little bit of a gap there, so, but not too bad. So guys who wanted that feature back in 19 on the forwarders, and I had no idea what they're talking about. After watching a few forwarding videos, I now know exactly what they're talking about. So, but overall, you can pick up pretty decent amounts of wood, and it stays really stable while you're loading. Obviously, it's the Giants engine. You're going to have the odd thing happen. But for the most part, in all my testing that I've done so far, it's been really good. If we do have issues, you're going to see it on these really thin logs over here. Like when you get the really thin tops and stuff trying to load that, sometimes you get some funky stuff happening. Yeah, like I said, the trailer's lockable, so you can lock all your goodies in there. I'm just going to get a little closer to this pile over here. Unlock our stuff. Like I said, these smaller ones you can sometimes get a little bit glitchy with, but... And again, maybe we can pencil these, I don't know. We might be asking a little too much. So there's not really a lot to grip there. There you go. So let's try penciling and see what happens here. So you just whip them up. Whoop. There you go. Oh, that was almost textbook there. That looked good. There you go. Perfect. See, now they're all kind of butted up nice. And then you can just kind of throw them in there. But yeah, overall, it's a very good forwarder. You can get a lot of wood on it, and it I don't know, it travels and traverses through the land really well. For the most part, I haven't seen a single issue hauling the logs and moving around, so I think you guys will have fun. And if you're one of the guys that have a steering wheel set up, oh man, it'd be so much nicer. I'm trying to do it with my pedals, and it's really sharp turns, but if you have a steering wheel, you can make some really nice smooth ends. So yeah, locking strap systems have all been changed to a new system, which is quite improved, both on the log trailers and on these, and on the grapples for the skidders and anything else basically that has locking straps. What else we got here? I fixed, it's a small detail. So on, not this one, where's the other one? This one. On the John Deere 909, which is this guy, this yellow portion was not matching the in-game John Deere yellow, so I have changed that color. Very small detail, but that's fixed now. Processors, we went over that. Okay, so let's load up a truck. We can look at those new grapples. While I'm doing that, I can think about anything else. So like I said, all the grapples have changed. All new grapples, all new grapple systems. Again, this is the lighter weights, so we had to kind of make a couple sacrifices, but for the most part, they handle pretty darn good, as long as you get a decent grip on the logs. So we're going to just slam some of these on here, and then we'll go play with the new grapples to take them off the truck. For the most part, like I said, the logs do feel very similar to the heavy versions. I basically just downscaled everything, like mathematically, to exactly what I had it with the heavyweights. So the machines are acting pretty much identical to the way they did, with some other improved bonuses. So, like I said, loading and stuff, you'll notice feels pretty good. The machine weights, like I said, they're not stock Giants weights. They're a little bit heavier than Giants still. But you know, you'll feel the weights of the logs. Like if I extend this arm out really far and try to tip it, you'll start to feel the machine kind of like tip. Actually, I think we're facing straight on. If you kind of go off on an off angle, you'll start to feel the machine get its kind of tips as you go out. Woo, there we go. But I mean, that's pretty good considering how much weight's in that grapple. And like I said, I wanted to have kind of a slightly realistic experience. These are pretty light logs, like dead logs. Once you get on Logger's Paradise, if you get like two of those really big ones, even at this length that are on this trailer, you start waving those around, you'll feel it in the machine for sure. It's kind of neat to see the different variations. But like I said, you can get really good grapples. Like that's a pretty darn good grab right there. And you can load quite efficiently. So I don't feel like the weights are super bad being lighter. And again, I mean, This machine total weighs about 50,000. In the previous update, I think it was like 750,000. So it's been a pretty. But like I said, this is the closest weight I can get to, and still have them act slightly realistic. So got to kind of leave that the way it is. And we'll just leave these tops here. I don't feel like loading all that on. Okay, but as you can see, loads up good still. So I'm actually pretty happy with that. The trailers sit really nice. The locking straps work really well. I added a second set of inner locking straps on this one. I don't know if you can see them. See how there's kind of like two? It looks like there's a line up top and down below. Because some people were saying on the pole trailer the bottom ones weren't locking properly due to the shape of the trailer. So that's fixed. The truck has a new suspension system. The truck has new engine, new takeoff, new everything. It feels a lot different driving it, but it's pretty sturdy. As you can see, full suspension system now. See the tires will kind of jump up and down. It'll give you a really smooth ride while you're going down, just like a real suspension system is supposed to do. But you'll find even when you go over kind of these rougher berms, I'm about to hit this really nasty spot here. It rides that out really well on the back of the trailer in the front, and it feels like a pretty smooth ride overall. All right. Now we're not going very far, which is fine by me. So we're just going to park her right about here. And we'll leave it right here. So yeah, again, it rides really nice. The loads sit really nice. They're not squirming around. They're not fighting to get off the truck. It sits pretty good. So 2 new grapples. Also, the old power clam model had a whole bunch of issues with the teeth and some other stuff, and it was not correctable. So I ended up ditching that model. This is the new power clam model, which used to be called the Whalen. The Whalen is now gone. This is the power clam. So that is the current grapple for unloading big amounts of wood. This is probably the most stable grapple out of all of them as well. So, but the Whalen model had some weird issues, and on certain maps, the light would hit them and it would cause it to get super bright and weird. Anyway, so the old power clam is gone. That is the new one. Just one more little update. Also, you'll notice in this update, the LTEC SSL machines are gone. Those are the 2 that had the knuckle booms on them. Just the reason those are gone is there was issues with the knuckle booms that I can't currently correct, but I'm looking at possibly getting that improved. So those are out for now, but they will be back in a future update. So check this out. This is the new button top grapple. A lot of people wanted one of these. Similar to 19, it does have the stabilizers on it, and they do move in unison together. They are not on separate controls. They just move as a set. Honestly, for what you're doing in this, you don't need those to move independently. If you really need the single one for independent work, that's what the roto rake's for, which we'll go over here in a minute. So this is very different from 19 because on these ones, I actually put components for the stabilizers instead of fixed. So you see how they have a little bit of give when I push down on them? That little bit of give really puts a soft grab on the trees when you're picking them up. So if I pick up, I'm just going to pick up a couple of little ones off the top here. So if we pick up, sure, even a 2. If you put the pressure down on them, it actually maxes out the pressure on the grapple. So you can't really, like, the old ones from 19, you used to be able to just, like, crush them into the thing and make it freak out. Well, this one actually applies, like, equal pressure onto them. Kind of similar to real life where it maxes out the cylinder strength, right? And again, for people who don't know the purpose of a button top, the purpose of a button top is if you grab something on an off angle. So for instance, if I grab it over here, if I try to lift this, obviously the left side you're going to see is going to go down, down, down. So the purpose of a button top is by putting down these stabilizers, you actually stabilize the load by lifting it upright, as opposed to if I take the stabilizers off, it just falls straight to the ground. So that little bit of pressure actually allows you to keep it level while you're putting it on the truck or while you're moving it off the truck. But it works extremely well. This is probably the best stabilization system I've ever created for this game, as far as button tops go. But it feels really good. You'll notice just in general, it's pretty well balanced. The logs can still glitch out a bit, so if you find you have a weird grab and you put all the pressure of the stabilizers, they sometimes do that weird little dance around in your grapple. Just take the pressure off your grapple a little bit and they should settle out a bit. But because it's this engine, it's never going to be, you're never going to 100% get away from the glitchy logs. Well, that's good. It'll just teach you to be a faster loaderman so the logs don't get away from you. But yeah, you can apply pretty much almost full pressure on some of the loads, and they stay just in place. They do kind of jitter back and forth a little bit. That's just the engine, so don't feel concerned about that. But like I said, that pressure does keep them nice and stable. You swing them around. You'll notice right away while you're playing how just it feels really, really well balanced while you're unloading. I haven't unloaded shorts with these guys, but I don't think you really ever need the stabilizers for the shorts, but I imagine it'd be a just as fine experience. So anyway, so that's the button top grapple, and its similar compadre over here is the roto rake, which is the current grapple that's already in the game. Difference with this one is that I gotta rotate my grapple here. There you go. Similar to the one that's already in game. Difference obviously is it has a thumb on it. So the thumb, very similar to the button top grapple, has the ability to put pressure down on one side to kind of lift the logs up. So again, this one's only on one side, so for people who don't want both bunny ears sticking up, this one you can apply the pressure on one side and it keeps the load level. Like I said, again, if you take the stabilizer off, it kind of drops it down to one side. As you can see them kind of fall down, and then as you apply pressure, it stabilizes it back up into the grapple. Yeah, keeps it kind of nice and fluid for sure. Okay, I think I'm just gonna grab one more bundle just for satisfactory results here. That's a big bundle. Let's grab a little bit less. Again, like I said, works really well. Just the right amount of pressure. I think you guys, anybody who's ever used these, I've used this in real life. Like I said, if you guys ever watch my real life logging videos when I was working at that pellet plant, I had a grapple that had this exact same thumb on it, and it is super handy, especially if you're grabbing logs and there's a loose one on top. Just to put that little bit of pressure on top, and it keeps it from sliding out of the grapple. Because in real life, they slide out of the grapple too if you're not careful, especially in winter. Okay, so yeah, 2 new grapples, which I think you guys will love. The button top and this one, which work amazing. Power clam, good times. There was something else I had to go over. It was 2 more things. So the Pro Pack Buncher Head had an issue with these cylinders. For whatever reason, there was a missing shader on them, and it caused them to be all super black and shiny, and the whole thing, there was no silver. So now on that head, like I said, if you close the cylinders, you can actually see that silver part again. Before, that silver part was all gray and shiny because it was missing a shader. Again, this thing has also been revised to cut pretty much efficiently with the new lighter trees. It's pretty much the same as when it was heavy. Heavier trees are definitely a little bit more of a tax on it because it is pretty hefty. You'll notice when you drop the trees, though, with the sticky ground, the new high-friction ground, they'll stay really well. So, for instance, before, if you were dropping trees on, like, a really sharp slope, not even really sharp, like, even if it was, like, I want to say 20% grade, like, not like a crazy slope, they would slide down the hill, and it sucked. So let's go, oops, I'm driving into a tree here. I was just going to show you guys how cool this new stuff is, especially guys who bunch on hills. I think you'll really like this. So because of the ground static on this map being so high, normally if you were to drop trees down here, they would just slide for like a long ways, but as you can see, they stick really nice to the ground. It's got to be a really sharp incline for them to slide now, which is nice, because in real life there's dirt and stuff, right? So when you drop a tree and the limbs and all that causes it to stick to the ground, so now when you're actually dropping on these hills, it sticks super well. Super duper well. Let's do one more tree just for fun's sake. But as you can see, like I said, we're using the heavier weights now, or the lighter weights. So that's a pretty decent tree. As you can see, the machine does have a little bit of bounce to it, so it does feel that weight. The further you get out from the machine, the more tip you're gonna get. But for the most part, that's a pretty large sized tree, and it's holding pretty well. But yeah, so there you go. And like I said, new static ground. Look at those trees. They settle nice. They're not sliding down the hill. Normally they'd be like just starting to snake their butts down the hill, but they don't do that. The final thing the final thing is the trucks. The trucks now do not have logos. I removed the FDR Logging logos off the trucks, off of the trailers that used to be there, off the backside. I think I got all of them. Yeah, I did, yeah. So every truck that had a logo, I took them off just because they were kind of... As much as I love my own logo for FDR Logging, I know lots of you guys prefer to have a clean-looking truck, so it is a clean truck with no logo. You guys can add your own if you really want to. They're still in the i3D file. Okay, so other than that, that's the update. New lightweights. Hope you guys are happy with that. New Timberpro forwarder, which is badass, and 2 new really fun grapples I think you guys will really like. Hopefully the next update we'll have a couple new machines and some other good stuff, but honestly, this is a really big changer from what we were, and I hope everybody is able to be compatible with their favorite mods and maps and all that fun stuff now. So let me know if you guys find any secretive complaints or concerns, and I will address them. But until then, we'll catch you guys on the next one. See ya.